Yes.
All right. Yurish, welcome to Hair Talk Coffee Club. Thank you for joining
Thank,
us.
oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And what can I say? I'm super excited for the conversation.
So, when I met you, I knew that we had to have you on. I think immediately our first conversation was all about connection. And I know that that's a huge core value of yours. But before we get into that, I want the audience, I'm excited for our audience to learn from you because that is our core value is connecting hairdressers to all different
Mm-hmm.
ideas, philosophies, and people in the
Mm-hmm.
industry. So,
Yeah.
Yurish, could you give us a little background of your career and then we can get into the nitty gritty of what you do now?
Okay. Uh, well, it's kind of funny, I'm a late start to the industry, right? I started doing hair, I was 28 years old. Um, and now, God, it's 26 years later, which is pretty crazy.
No way.
Um, and let's see, how did it start? I can tell you exactly how it started, which is funny because I was totally like hairdressing. What you reach? Why don't you become an astrophysicist or something like that? Like it was so not my thing. I wanted to be an illustrator. Honestly, in my life, that's what I had done for so long. It was my ex-wife who, upon me quitting a job and being totally directionless, I was so lost. And she said, you're really good with people and you're really creative. I bet you'd love cutting hair. And I didn't know what I was doing, so I was like, sounds great, let's go.
I love that.
And she just happened to do one of those horrible walkouts from the salon that actually we would return to a year later, worth noting, which is funny.
I love it.
And that new salon, they were just starting. They had an education department, so I actually started at the front desk.
Okay.
So I've really, went through everything in the span of my career. I started at the front desk. As soon as they got their education up and running, started learning how to style hair, probably one of the harder things that I've had to do. I conceptualized learning how to cut hair a lot easier than I did styling it, interestingly, because I'm a graphic designer
That makes
and
sense.
illustrator. So
Yeah.
that helped. Um, and also, I'm a specialist. I only cut and style hair. I don't know how to color it or do any kind of other things. That's my thing.
Yeah.
And I can cut all hairs in its natural state.
Wow.
So interestingly enough, when I first learned, like I was, everybody, oh, we got to learn texture. Like I was already on that 20 something years ago,
Yeah.
because my teachers were so varied. And there was this one gentleman. His name was Ali. I'll never forget him. He'll come up again because he taught me how to format education too.
Wow.
And he was Persian, and he specialized back then in texture. So that's really where it started, and then from there, got started my business behind the chair. Thought it was amazing. Got busy really fast. This becomes relevant. Trust me. I always land the plane, Carly.
I
You
believe
know,
you.
right? Actually, when I was most successful behind the chair was when I was the most miserable.
Mm.
I was working 12, 14 hours straight, no breaks. I'm a hairstylist. All I do is cut and style hair. I was running 3 chairs. Do you see what I'm
Wow.
saying?
Wow.
With different assistants and 5 days a week, as we did back in the day, apparently. I
Yeah.
don't know, everybody's a little bit more, different with that now, which is like good for you,
Yeah.
because I remember how unrelenting that schedule was actually.
Yes.
And I am very loud when you talk to me in person. Carly, we met in the middle of an event where there were DJs and stuff. Just know we were talking. I actually wasn't even trying to talk over the DJ. Like I was just talking. Do you know what I'm saying?
There
Right?
was like 400 people and it was super loud. So yes, that
Yeah.
I can
So
I
no,
can
and I was
attest
just
to that.
talking. Yeah, I would have been like, well, let's go to dinner, and I would have been actually talking with the exact same volume.
I love it.
And actually, I was explaining. I was doing get readies with me before these phones,
I love it.
because that was a big reason that I was building my clientele so quickly. I would always teach them how to style their own hair.
Love.
And the head of education, who was literally across the salon, heard me because I was so loud. And then in that, like, how you get those 2 minutes in between clients, and you like cram like a handful of like walnuts in your face, and then
Yes.
you like run back out there. And in that time, she was like, I just heard you. You really, you describe things really well. You should join the education team. And I was like, yes. And which you'll see as a theme in my career actually is all yes. I have no idea what I'm doing. Or what I'm saying yes to. I'm just like yes, and it just rolls.
Yeah.
And that moment changed my career.
Yes.
And this, like I say, I mean, this was very early on in my career. You know, maybe this was a function of me being older when I started. You know, I mean, also at the time I was married. I was a stepfather to two kids, and I was going through an open-ended apprenticeship, and I was attending beauty school at night actually at the same time.
Wow.
So I did cosmetology school part time. It took me 2 years to go through cosmetology school
Okay.
because I went at night.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I went through this apprenticeship program. I was an apprentice for 2.5 years before I ever cut my first client.
Wow.
I had to do all my apprenticeship was all live models, and I did four live models. You know, every Monday. If I missed 3 a month, I'd be fired.
Yep. Good.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
So
it's good.
yeah,
It's
you know.
tough.
No, yeah, and I mean, ultimately, what I mean, in the end, I'm glad I did it. You
Mhm.
know, because again, I learned excellence as opposed to competence, and I think that
Correct.
that's important in teaching and in learning. People can be so like, oh, I want to finish it quick. I need to get behind the chair, but they don't really necessarily fully realize that the level of your training will often, I won't say all the times, but often dictate the your income ceiling or your revenue ceiling.
Yes.
You know, so the quicker you go through it, got it. You know, you'll know it. You know, but
Mhm.
you won't be a master of it, and you will not be able to charge master prices.
That's
You know,
so true. I love that
yeah,
point. That's yeah.
yeah.
Write that down.
Yeah.
And worth noting, I mean, if that's what, and everybody were if you're already on the floor and that was the course, it's like, then the next thing is then at that point, just never stop learning. You know, keep
Yes.
taking classes, keep up in your game. You know, bring in live models. The lessons of live cutting a mannequin and cutting a live model are two totally different things.
Correct.
Do you know? So I'm not saying no to mannequin,
Yeah.
but I am saying, as you work through things, definitely strive to get as much live hair in front of you as is possible, so that you can learn all those lessons that mannequins can't really teach.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
talk back.
One of the most important lessons of all, I
That's
suppose,
right. That's
right?
right. Okay, so
Yeah,
then you
for sure.
joined education, and
Yes.
then what happened after that for you?
Well, first, we were doing an in-salon training program,
Mhm.
right? And the salon that I grew up in, DiPietro Todd in
Mhm.
San Francisco, California, at the time had 5 locations, and we had, I think it was a staff of around 40 apprentices.
Wow.
So every Monday, and this is an interesting lesson too, if I may, the Todds, they closed all 5 locations every Monday so they could teach the apprentices.
Wow.
So they took no clients. All of the apprentices went to their largest location. It was on Post Street in San
Okay.
Francisco, downtown San Francisco. And ultimately, myself and another educator would be teaching about 20 apprentices, all cutting live models and all doing different haircuts. Because, if you're in the bob section, got it, and then there's people in like the short square layer section,
Mhm.
got it. And then, so you're just going through all these people, dealing with real people because they're not mannequins.
Yep.
And yeah, so I really kind of cut my teeth in a really rough teaching environment in a sense of how much you needed to keep track of things,
Mhm.
which fine-tune my eye. Like I could walk past somebody, I can see if something's wrong in like that because that's the way you had to be. Because I couldn't be sitting there hunting through all this haircut to find what was wrong. So it really fine-tuned my eye to see balance and holes and elevations and all these various different things like super quick, and they could be super small, and that's what taught me how to do it. So I started there, and the second I started there, all of a sudden my energy everywhere went up.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was teaching the students. I was This is interesting too now that I think about it. Remember now, what am I, 30? I'm probably like 31 at this point, you know, and the apprentices are what? All like, 19 and 20,
Right.
right? What wound up happening is that like I really started connecting with the apprentices.
Yeah.
See, because what was happening was I was so busy behind the chair I wasn't really I was connecting, but not as much the way I'd like to. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Everything became really rushed. It was a grind. It was a
Mhm.
job. Do you know what I mean? That I walked into. My first client was at 7, and my last client was like at 8
Yeah.
at night. Do you know? So, and it was just nonstop the whole day. So it was like I couldn't really engage. And this introduction of education and then being able to connect with the apprentices, it's like all of a sudden now it's like, oh wow, and now that's feeding my connection because truth of the matter is, interestingly, and I do really love the art of cutting hair, and I cut hair very well. I actually like connecting with people more than I like cutting hair. Like cutting hair is the vehicle that allows me to connect with people,
Same.
if that makes sense. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So really so that was kind of the missing piece. Because then once that happened, then all of a sudden that energy then moved into behind the chair work with the clients, and then everything started clicking different. You know, and because I was an educator too, you know, the apprentices that would, you know, be my assistant, you know, they had another type of access to information. So then, you know, I'd be teaching them stuff that I was doing with guests behind the chair and all these various different things. So it just expanded the entire experience in a way that I very much needed at that time.
Yeah.
Or else I would have burnt out. Interestingly enough, I wouldn't, because I was shocked to hear that the average length of someone in that's a hairdresser is like 2 years.
Yeah.
Before they like quit and they do something else.
Yeah.
So I would have stayed the course. You know, I just wouldn't have liked it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
it would have been just like a job, like, well, I won't say like any other, but it would have been a job, and it wouldn't be a joy.
I
Different.
think that's so true. And I think that is a conversation people have all the time right now is burnout. And I think burnout comes from, and you've said this before, when you're not feeling creative.
Yeah.
And creativity for me is a lot like you, where I have to have like multiple wheels spinning to feed my soul. And the same thing with education. It makes me a better stylist for my client. But if I was just
for
doing
sure.
my clients, I love my clients, but I would definitely get burnt out if that's the only thing I was doing. And everything else that I do makes that experience so much better.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Carly. You know, and I love. Was it you, Greg, who said that like the burnout is from not being creative?
Yeah.
Right, because it's worth noting, right? My schedule behind the chair hasn't changed. I'm still coming in at 7 in the morning, and I'm still leaving at 8 at night.
Yeah.
Right, and now I'm teaching at least one Monday a month, if not more, which was an interesting thing because I was so hungry to do it. People would be like, "Oh, I want Monday off," and it was an interesting, you know, born and raised New York City
Yeah.
versus like California, San Francisco, like. They wanted to like go on hikes and meditate, and I like wanted to work.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
It's that East Coast thing.
Please,
Yeah.
you know, I'm a hustler for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ultimately they kept giving me extra days. So I'd be teaching like maybe 2-3 Mondays a month.
Yeah.
You know, which to the point, you know, the more you do it, the better you get.
Yes.
You know, just like, you know, ultimately that rigorous or crazy schedule behind the chair made that possible too.
Yeah.
You know, when you're doing all of that, you know, and you're charging high prices, you know, it was a high-end salon,
Yeah.
or is a high-end salon to this day. You know, it has to be of a certain quality.
Yes. That's
you
so
know?
true.
There wasn't so much hype back then. You know, you couldn't, and this is no. my best friend, my brother Carlo, he always says this: no tea, no shade, no lemonade. So this isn't meant as that.
Yeah.
But there wasn't room for you to get like famous on TikTok, not be that great, and then be fully booked. Like that
Yes.
wasn't a thing.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like either you were good or you weren't.
Yes.
And there was no amount of like wacky marketing and stuff that you might do at a venue that's possible today, which is fantastic, by the way. I'm using
Yeah.
it myself, and I encourage everybody to do it.
Yes.
Because like free marketing is a gift worth
Yes.
noting, right?
Yes.
So yes on that, but it also allows for, you know, different levels of quality
Yeah.
to exist and be hidden by a certain level of expert marketing, which is
Definitely.
expert marketing. So it's like,
Yeah.
again, that literally is no shade, but there just wasn't any room for that.
Yeah, that wasn't
Yeah.
an
You know,
option.
at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't. Either it was great or it wasn't. Either the person's friends asked you where they got their hair cut, or they were like, "Oh, that's nice. Like your hair."
Yeah.
They're like,
You know what I mean? Pull one
they're
of
like
those
noted.
things.
Yes.
You know, yeah. Where'd you get that done again?
Yeah.
You know, right? And
Yeah.
not because they want to go, but
Yes.
because they want to avoid it.
Yeah.
You know, so those kind of things, right? So that's just the way it was.
That's
you
so
know,
true.
and so that was so important. And with every passing class, I got more and more energy. And from that point, they had a national academy that we actually that was like 1 and 2 day workshops
Okay.
where people would come in and we would offer training like anywhere. You could pay for tickets to come, which
Yeah.
is great. It
Nice.
was actually grandfathered in as a satellite. It was the first academy that was grandfathered in as a satellite academy for L'Oreal Professionnel back
Okay.
in the day.
That's
Okay.
really cool.
Yeah. It was also had strong ties to Renee Federer.
Okay.
As well. So
Wow,
both,
that's cool.
Both L'Oreal Professionnel and Renee Federer believed in this academy
Wow.
and invested in it with a certain amount of pre-sale tickets.
That's
Wow.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I learned how to do that. Because then that was
Yes.
different. It was 1 and 2 day workshops.
Yeah.
And if I may hog the conversation for 2 more
We
seconds.
love this.
This was the beginning of when I saw what the real what for me would be the prevailing problem up until today that my company and my education brand is addressing, which is I knew what it was to teach apprentices like every Monday for years. They didn't know how to hold scissors. Now they're like rocking away and they're successful behind the chair, getting that money, doing all this stuff. Having joy, feeling great, feeling fulfilled, feeling accomplished, like fabulous, and seeing them through that entire journey. So I knew what I was doing. I was truly teaching. Then I started doing 1 and 2 day workshops initially for the DPH Todd Academy, and I was like, well, I don't get it. Like I've taught you like for a day. I've taught you creative haircutting, like would be a class I would design.
Yeah.
Like, am I under the impression that after a 7-hour day, and I'm like, there's a break in there someplace, that like you understand, the entire concept of disconnection and asymmetric balance, and like really,
That's
and,
so
and
true.
undercutting, and like, so in 7 hours you've learned all of that,
Yeah.
and of course you can't,
No.
right? And so then it was always like, what happens after this? I was like, how do they really grow? I mean, ultimately, what I found was happening was a lot of inspiration, a lot of motivation. You get a couple of quick tips in there, a couple of like pieces of gold.
Yeah.
And then they walk away. But it was like so much was discussed during the class. What a shame that they weren't able to walk away with all of that
Right.
Yeah.
as well, and put it in their tool belt, really.
Yeah. That's true.
Because obviously or not so obviously, you teach somebody a new haircutting technique, like disconnection, for
Yeah.
instance. Right? And it's like, if I'm booked back to back, the next day I go into the salon, like I'm not going to be trying disconnection at like 12 noon.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know what I mean, right? Because it's like, this ain't the time to be rolling the dice. Like, I
Yeah.
need to bet on a sure thing at this point because I
true.
can't have it derail the entire day. So then they would leave and then would wind up not having the opportunity to practice because they
Yeah.
would go straight back into the salon. So, like, when does that happen?
Yeah.
And that's been my white whale for probably the past
Yeah.
20 years.
God,
to
it's
be
so-
honest.
it's so
is to
true.
do that.
I think
Yeah,
even
yeah.
still with education, like if you go take a 3 or 4 day one, they always say at the end, and I've said it because I've done those trainings for people. I'm like, make sure you put this into practice right away.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, just like you said, on my first day back in the salon, I'm not gonna, try something brand new. Maybe like if
No.
it's a little tweak, like hold your comb like this, keep your elbows up, those
I'm
types of
open.
things. Yes.
That,
Yeah.
Who got it? Yes.
But if it's like,
you know what I mean?
if it's like,
Yeah.
entirely scrap your entire way that you do hair, I understand why they don't. And like, is there a way
Yeah.
that we could build like the final day of them putting into practice for any training? Like that
Yeah.
would be, I
Well,
think, the way.
I think that's too why like people often take classes that are just like a few hours or even a day, and then at least what we've heard from people is like, it wasn't worth the money, it wasn't worth the price, and it's like it probably was, but it was just kind of impossible to gather all that information that
Right.
you could then put into practice.
It's
you
true.
know?
It's true.
Yeah.
And if I may too, in adult learning, and I mean this actually I learned this from everybody, from the educator perspective and the learner perspective. We kind of forgot what learning is.
Yes.
Like, for instance, great, you bring up an amazing point. This 1 day class wasn't worth the money. I mean, ultimately, really, to classify what just happened, you saw an educator do something.
Yeah.
Like you didn't learn it yet.
Yes.
You know, we forget like learning. There's homework and there's tests and
Yep.
there's like this is learning. Like
Yes.
learning isn't I watched you. I may have executed like one haircut during a workshop portion
Yeah.
and like now I've learned it. It's like no,
Yeah.
actually no. You've watched it.
Yeah.
You've participated in the beginning stages of learning,
Yes.
which is, you know, the workshop that will happen in the afternoon after perhaps you watch a demo,
Yeah.
you know, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But the learning actually happens after you leave that room
Yes.
when you work on your technique and you break out the mannequin heads and you get back and you oh my god, I learned this new techniques. Hey, assistant, get over here. I want to try something on you. You got to check this out.
Yes.
You know, and you tell your fellow coworkers, oh my god, I learned this. Here, let me try this fringe on you. Let me try this technique on you. You know, and then you can learn it. And then this is really what the act of learning is.
Yes.
You know, everyone acts like the class is over and everybody's done learning. It's
Yeah, like they
no,
just absorb
actually,
it.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's such a
Because-
kinetic thing. Like we're supposed to use our hands, and so suddenly we're supposed to just sit there and absorb information
Yeah.
and then physically do it. That's not
No.
learning.
You know,
No.
this perspective is so interesting because I haven't really thought of it in that way before, in the way that you have, because I started out being a lead color educator for our apprentices, and I ended up stopping doing that so that I could do more classes that are like one-day classes for like established stylists that I felt like had a little bit more like advanced skill that they could build upon. But subconsciously, I guess I was kind of registering like your perspective that you've been feeling. And it made me think about the assisting program and my assistants. That's like my favorite type of
Yeah.
Learning
thing to do now
Yeah.
because they're with me day in, day out and actually absorb and can like
And they
put
get to
into
connect
practice
what they're
everything.
learning. Like they learned square layers, and then they get to watch you explain that to your client
Yeah.
on why you're choosing that technique. And then they're like, that
Legs.
thing I learned, now I can see who and how I would do that on whatever type of hair that is.
Yeah.
I think one salon that I used to teach when I traveled with TG and taught, one salon would send their stylist, pay for their stylist to go take these workshops for whatever brand it was. And they would make them the week after teach it,
Yeah.
which I think is
Brilliant.
genius.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Because
Brilliant.
it made the stylist go learn. Now that I'm actually like registering that as genius.
Yeah,
and that was
right?
like over a decade ago for me.
Yeah.
But in this conference, that's why I like these conversations.
Yeah.
But they would make them teach it. And now I'm like, oh my God, that forced them to actually absorb practice so that they learn something, teach something. That's how you know.
That's why in the
Yeah.
beginning of my career, I started teaching rather quickly the apprentices, and everyone always asks me, like clients, assistants, like, how did you become so advanced so quickly and learn so much? And
Teaching.
I
Yeah.
told them it was
Teaching.
like I was doing a million heads of hair
Yep.
that I wasn't actually like.
And I got
putting
to
my hands on.
experiment with those people.
Yeah.
I'm like, do it this way.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Yeah.
actually works. And why? And now I know why.
And it sharpens your eye.
Yeah.
Do you know, and by and large too, and this is an incredible thing too to preventing burnout. You know, when you do teach, you know, you get to teach creative stuff,
Yeah.
right? Whereas a lot of creative stuff may not come into your chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but when you're teaching people, it's like, okay, I need a creative model, so we could start working on some outside the box techniques. Like that's
true.
not something that might go into your chair that would be part of your, you know, process. You
That's
know,
so
and
true.
engaging with your craft.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, and then when I started working for brands
Right.
and becoming a brand educator, this was, and it extended this conversation. You know,
Yeah.
what happens after?
Yeah.
Because then, you know, I was, well, I worked through, you know, I was a educator for all of L'Oreal Professional Products Division.
Right.
I've taught for all of their brands, and I've taught most of the Professional Products Division brands artists how to teach.
Right.
You know, at one point or other.
Right.
You know, and the conversation continues. You know, even with the artists. Oh, you have an artist training. It goes on for 2 or 3 days. Got it. There's like a day of facilitation. Great. You know, you learn some techniques. Fabulous. When's your next class? Like, is it in a month? Because if it's in a month, like, are you gonna really do this?
Yeah.
Do you know? And then, you know, where are the resources? How does this continue? How do I continue to learn? Do you know? And like I say, I'm super excited, and it will come up because I will make it come up. But I figured out a way. And I'm
Okay.
super excited about that way.
Love.
You know that is about to drop in June.
Heck
You know,
yes,
but
that's
it's
good
definitely
timing.
it's been the biggest concern of mine.
Yeah.
You know, and I will say it as a concern. because I feel good about teaching. I feel good about. I want to transform people. I want to change lives.
Yeah.
You know, after time with me, I want people to leave with skills that are going to make their life and their career better.
Yeah. Amen.
You know, and if it's only for 7 hours, my impact isn't to the level I would like it to be. Let me say that.
That makes sense.
I've been impactful, you
Yeah.
know, and I've been very grateful.
That
Yeah.
makes
You know,
sense.
for every salon that I've taught at and every artist that I've mentored, coached, you know, worked with, whatever the situation is, it's all been a fabulous journey. You know, I saw this entire country really
Yeah.
in doing that. I grew up in Hell's Kitchen. I didn't leave. What are you talking about?
Yep.
If it wasn't my grandmother's house in Connecticut, I don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
We didn't even go to Brooklyn back then. Brooklyn for what?
Oh my God, why?
I'm in Manhattan. I don't understand what you're talking about. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
So true.
You know, and I wound up seeing the whole country like that. So it was fabulous, and it was incredible, and a learning experience that I could never replace.
Right.
You know, but through the entire time, it would always be like a little nagging thing that I would leave, and I would, are you really working on these techniques? Are you employing them
Yeah.
so that you can experience the growth, the transformation, the development, you know, of your career and of your life from our time together.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
You know, and then sometimes I'd be coming back a year later and we're still
Doing it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And again, grateful for it, you
Yeah.
know, and great. Hey, I'm down. I really love inspiring and motivating, you
Yes.
know, and in the end, that's what a lot of that type of education tends to really that it delivers inspiration and motivation totally.
Yeah.
That is something it delivers,
Yep.
you know, without question. You know, but that after piece where people actually begin learning and implementing behind the chair and all those various different things, that's a little trickier.
That's
You
so
know,
true.
as it stands in this moment, you know,
Yeah.
to me.
Even
you know,
with
so.
what we're doing, we do consulting with hairstylists and salons.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we meet with them monthly, I do my best to check in on them. But like, really, it's like we could sit down for 2 hours and be as inspirational and forward focused as we want. But if there's not the work done in those 4 weeks after we see them, it's
Yeah.
kind of pointless.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think it's all the same thing, whether it's hair education or just business in general. It's that follow through and follow up that I'm excited to get into this more with you. So
For sure.
now that, okay, you worked with different brands, you became
Yes.
a facilitator expert for those brands as well. Talk us through some of your experiences with that and then how that translates into this next step for Yurish.
That experience expanded my mind and turned me on to the whole industry. Like the salon I grew up in is very rare.
Yes.
I
It is.
mean, do you know one owner that shuts down every Monday, 5 locations, so that
No.
the students can learn? And like the stylists, they have a day off, go see a movie or something. Do you know any
Yeah.
that are that committed to learning
Yeah.
and training their people?
No. So
I haven't run across one yet.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And again, everybody's doing their best. You know, somewhat. What can I say? You know, in the end, you know, economic conditions shift.
Yeah.
You know, so you know what was possible. You know, in 2010, 2015, they were even on that model. Like when I left San Francisco to move back home to New York in 2017. You know, they were still operating on that model as well. Do you know what I mean? But a lot has changed
Yes.
between 2017 and today.
Yeah.
You know, so I got it. You know, but what it did show me was what the small salon that has like 6 people in it. You know, what's that like? Do you know what's being a hairstylist in the entire middle of this country like?
Right.
Like to grow up in Manhattan, to like
The perspective is
and
skewed.
then to move to San Francisco,
Yes.
and then have that be your experience of the country. One could successfully argue you know nothing about this country, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know about 2 cities in this country. I love that. But this country is way different than either one of those 2 specific places.
That's so
Yeah.
true.
You know, so it really taught me about that. It taught me about the industry at large. It gave me a bigger picture from a higher vantage point to
Yes.
see more of what was available. And then I will say, and I always give such a shout out, my mentor and the person who discovered me and recruited me to begin, my brand education journey with
Yeah.
L'Oreal Professionnel was the
Right.
first to recruit me, and it's Kato Shell,
Okay.
and she also saw something in me, which is what isn't that the great thing about teaching, right?
Yes.
You can see something in someone before they can even see it for themselves.
Yep.
And she really did, and I think that's her gift, is that,
Yeah.
and connection, but she always gave me a little bit of a picture of behind the scenes, because I started developing stuff that was being used by the brand.
Okay, cool.
So then I started bridging a little bit of that, type of corporate experience in a sense. It was
Yeah.
very slight, because as I said, like I served now for a short time as, assistant vice president of education for
Right.
4 brands, for
Right.
3 brands rather, which was wow,
Yeah.
way different than anything Kate was showing me about anything. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But it again, at the time, all I knew was this salon group that was exceptional, that was 5 locations, and was doing what it was doing excellently, great.
Yeah.
And that's what this showed me. It showed me what, what does the hairstylist in the suburbs of Indiana, what's that like?
Yeah.
And it's really different than the life of a hairstylist who's like in Midtown Manhattan.
Exactly.
How you get business, how you keep clients, how you continue to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like all these various different things. And that's really what that exposed me to. And the greatest gift that I received from it was the bigger picture. And to see
Yes.
the country, and to meet people from all over the country,
Yep. I think that's such a gift too. And having the perspective of different geographical locations will ultimately make you more approachable, and people will connect with you easier, because they're not going to be like, oh, well, you don't understand. You just live in the city. It's like, no, I understand, because I've been to, Indiana or Iowa, or wherever it's been.
Everywhere.
And there is a place for every type of business. And it's like, how do we take your business in the location you're at and make it successful for you? Because that's going to be different in Chicago than it is in Detroit. And they're very close together. And so I think that's such a good way to put it, is you had a gift by being able to connect with those, places all over the country.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if I may, and I think this is something important to say, although it's not necessarily hair related, though another thing that I know, and this is a great gift, and I will take a moment to just say this, the population of this country is so not monolithic.
Yeah.
Like, oh, those people from the Midwest, it's like, nah, there's a lot of different type of people in the Midwest.
Correct.
There's a lot of different people, like, in California. There's a
Yes.
lot of different type of people, in New York. A lot of different type of people in the South.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's true.
And that's something that, I feel like we can get a little lost in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like painting everybody with such a broad brush.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest gifts that I got as well, is again with the connection and
Yes.
the communication. Biggest way that and I have a fridge. I have literally a magnet for I've been to every major city in America
Love it.
over the past, 16 years teaching on the
Love
road.
it.
And I'll tell you how I always start. Every place I go, I get off the plane, get in my cab, my Uber, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I always say, hey, turn on the music. What do you want to hear? Whatever you're listening to, I want to hear that. And the second they turn on the music, gives me the
The
start
vibe.
to an amazing conversation
Yeah.
that I have with that Uber driver from the airport to my hotel.
I love
And
it.
I learn about the area. I learn about the place. I learn about the person. And this is really what's made all of it so much richer. Not just the class, but connecting with the Uber driver,
Yeah.
connecting with the people in the hotel, connecting with everybody you possibly can,
Yep.
and communicating with them to add richness, nuance, and depth, really to your experience, wherever you're at.
Yeah.
And that gave me that too.
I always
Yeah,
tell
so-
my clients that if you want to win a trivia game, bring a hairdresser.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's hairdressers or educators in our industry because of that right there. Like, we have the most random facts about the most random cities because of experiences like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's so funny when you have those conversations with your clients and they're so like gobsmacked about that, but I don't think they understand the power that we have because we connect with people from all different backgrounds all day, every day.
Yeah.
And I feel very
it.
lucky, and I never knew that was going to be a part of this industry when I got into it. I was just 18. I was like, I'm going to do hair. That's literally it. So I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
Now that at this point with Urish Style, let's talk about how your experience with brands is now translating into your next piece of work.
Great question. Super excited about it. And it's interesting because, see, Urish Style's been in existence for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Interestingly, to your point or to your story, actually, my client, Kim Kramer, and she helped me, she named Urish Style.
Love.
Because that was the time she was like, this is what it is to sit in your chair. This is your style. This is your style. I was like, oh my God, so much yes, right?
Love.
So again, it was a client that actually really kickstarted this thing, about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
One thing that I've learned and that I'm moving forward with, which I'm super excited about, is to really focus and commit myself to education for education's sake.
Love.
I want to be very involved in that. I want to teach people to teach them so that they can improve their lives, their careers, and feel real transformation. That's my
Yes.
mission. It isn't, necessarily about, an ancillary purpose of, selling product or what have you. And mind you, I still partner with brands, when it's aligned, and that's the gig.
Yes.
That's part of that type of and I'm not mad at it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because
It
I
supports
believe in the product.
businesses, yeah.
Yes, it
And that's
supports
jobs and
businesses.
people.
Retail supports businesses.
Yep.
Right? And the products they work.
Yep.
And if they work, I can stand behind it. And I'm not mad at that entire conversation.
Yeah.
But that's that's something I'm zeroing into in this next incarnation of your style. And I'm expanding because I'm expanding and I'm narrowing, which is interesting. My keen focus now, I started out haircutting education. That's how I started.
Yeah.
Within, I would say, fairly short order, I started doing personal development programs, business development programs. I started training trainers, and ultimately in the end, we'll say from 2016 on, I didn't teach a lot of haircutting education. I taught more development education, and I'm classifying. I don't think there is personal development and business development. I think there's professional development.
Yes, that's so true.
Because the inner game always affects the outer game. So you can look at a chart and you can, the metrics are this, but just know there's a secret thing behind the metrics that's actually the operating system behind the metrics.
Yes.
Right? And what I found, after all of these years, is that hidden metric or that hidden operating system behind all those metrics is communication.
That's so true.
I've taught too many people. I've taught all over the world. And I definitively have taught people. And again, this is no commentary, no judgment. I'm not about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I am about speaking truth.
Yes.
And I've met many hairstylists who are they're good, they're mediocre, You'll need to wait like literally half a year to get an appointment with these kids.
Yes.
Because they can connect with their client.
Yes.
And I've known haircutters who are absolutely like, you'd be like, oh my God, how did you even cut that? Fortunately, you could get an appointment with them in 2 days because they can't.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
So to me, and when in my experience, none of us are in the beauty business. We're actually in the relationship business.
Yeah.
And the relationship business is about connection, and connection happens through communication. So this is more where I'm narrowing my scope. So it's not no haircutting education anymore. No, by no means. But just know, you want me to teach you some haircutting? I am so in, but just know you're also going to get some communication in there as well.
Yes.
Because I would be remiss in my duties if I taught you how to cut the bob, but then I didn't teach you how to connect with the person who you're going to cut the bob with in the first place.
Yeah.
That's so true.
If you can't communicate, you're not even be cutting any bobs. Don't worry
Yeah.
about
You're
it.
not going to retain them.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a dead issue. So that's really one of the major narrowing scopes that I'm like, ooh, this is where it's at. Because I see that even today, people, this isn't really a development, event. This is more, really strictly business. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, how is communication not in the strictly business,
Right.
day or
Yeah.
Yep.
conference or whatever? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, how is it all like online, type of platforms and marketing software and finance software, what have you, all these various different things, and nobody like communication? That's like a different conference. How? What do you mean? I don't even understand.
So true.
And people are ignoring. There's strong metrics, behind. I mean, my God, I think we lose so many billions of dollars a year across all industries,
Yep.
actually, and it's actually goes back to lack of communication.
Yes.
Things take longer to develop and are developed worse if there's no communication within your team.
That's the
Yeah.
truth.
Every in a salon, people act like their station is some weird like island and I can't see outside of the station. If your station is super clean and everybody around you is a mess, guess what? Your client isn't going to be like, well, thank God my stylist is the one stylist in the sea of stylists of the salon that has the clean station. No, they're going to say this whole place is a mess.
Yep.
This is a team. We and I do believe we co-create our environment.
Yes.
And that co-creation happens through communication.
Yeah.
Whether it be
true.
with our peers, whether it be with our teammates, or whether it be with the client, or the owners,
Yes.
or what have you. So that's one, is I'm really focused on that. Two, my white whale. I think I caught it.
Hell yeah.
And I'm calling and I'm putting the finishing touches on it right now for launch in June. So when you hear this, it's probably available. So peep it.
Exactly.
It's a lightning bug.
Okay.
And what it is it's an AI platform that has been trained in everything that I know for the past 15 years of teaching
Wow.
experience. That I've written, that I've talked. I'm almost hoarse from transcribing, what I
That's
know.
incredible.
Various different questions. And so it's you reach in your pocket. So after an event, it's like, got it. Oh my God, I forgot this thing. And it's like, got it. Ask the lightning bug. It'll tell you. And it'll answer like me. Because it's trained on me.
That is so cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'm so
it's
excited for
yeah.
you and for everyone else. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yep.
That is
Genius.
awesome.
So it'll be one of those things that'll be available after one of my workshops.
Cool.
As I do workshops in person, live, multiple days, solo day, sometimes ticketed, most of the times invited in by a salon.
Yeah.
So it'll be available after that to help people continue to grow, to help people continue on their journey. After the
love that.
class is done and the learning is supposed to begin.
Yeah.
And as well, because communication is such a vital skill,
Yes.
in our industry, it'll be something too available for anybody to utilize as well.
Yeah.
It'll be a service. So, you can totally go on there and never having had a workshop with me.
Yeah.
You'll be able to, connect with this tool and ask it in real time, and it'll answer just like when you're asking any of these things. It spits out an answer in literally 2 seconds.
That's
And
so
it's-
cool.
And it's me. So
Wow.
I finally
I'm so excited for you. You figured out the
way.
whale.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I think that's so brilliant because then when a company or a salon hires you on to help whatever their focus is for you, that workshop, then they have that full access afterwards for their team. Like if you came in and taught a front desk team how to facilitate, then they could, okay, team, now you've got this connection to where you can go on and revisit that or ask that, or in our front desk meeting, we go back to that and relearn that. That's really
Absolutely.
smart. I'm really excited
just-
about that.
I just had a really difficult conversation. Literally, I was at the front desk. Great example. At the front desk, I'll tell you this: front desk, the hardest job in the whole salon.
It is.
Front desk.
It is. I was just saying that this
I'll tell you
weekend.
that.
Yes.
I'll say definitively.
Yeah.
I've done pretty much everything you could possibly do in a salon. The front desk, that's been the hardest place I've ever been.
Agreed.
Like for instance, how I got to tell you, something just happened. I had a client freak out. How could I have dealt with this better? How can I do it more in the future? Great. Ask the lightning bug. I'll tell you.
Yes.
And then next time this happens, so that moment that maybe at the time, maybe you didn't show up as your best self.
Right.
Maybe you really didn't know how to address that particular level of conflict in
Yeah.
that moment.
Yep.
But now that moment can turn into a learning lesson because after it's done, a curious person can say, wow, I wish that went better.
Yes.
How could that happen? and then you would just literally punch in what happened, had an argument, is what started it, da da da. What would you recommend I do? I'll tell you the entire thing. The lightning bug, tell you everything to do.
So
Wow.
cool. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
So, do you think that communication is something that's like teachable to anybody?
Communication is as human as a beating heart. We are built for communicate. Something that we forget, especially in this today's world, and no like commentary on whatever's going on, but we're always seem to feel like you'd almost believe that we're meant to be disconnected,
Right.
and that we're meant to worry about ourselves, and that we're meant. I mean, I just spent, being from Manhattan, due to certain of my life experiences, I have a lot of empathy for a lot of people
Right.
that I see in hard situations.
Yep.
And it's like, wow, like human beings aren't meant to, like, literally have someone at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, literally laid out with no shoes
Right.
on the sidewalk in Manhattan, and people are just like literally walking over the person.
Correct.
Like they don't exist. Actually, no, that's
Yeah.
not actually human nature. Human nature is about community. Human nature is about connection.
Yep.
Human nature is about communication. The way, I mean, human beings transferred knowledge for literally the 1.5 million years, for like
Yes.
literally almost all of the 1.5 million years of human existence has been through storytelling.
Yes. It's
It
true.
hasn't been through PowerPoints and bullet points, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
That's why when you teach education, which by the way, the lightning bug will be on point for all of those facilitators out there, is one of the biggest portions of the lightning bug that I'm
Smart.
building out
Smart.
for educators, and how they can set
Education
up their
teams.
room, set up the day, do this, do that, how they
Smart.
can show up as their best self. What do I need to do before the event? All these various different things, right? But in fact, that's why I always say, don't teach a lesson, tell a story.
Yes.
You teach bullet points. Actually, people they're not designed to learn in bullet points. They're designed to learn in a context, in a story context.
Yeah.
So
There's got to be
true.
a contextual journey here happening.
Because then they can't connect
know.
it
They
to
can't
real
connect.
life. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're
And
just
one
telling them a
point doesn't
theory.
connect to the next.
Yes. It's so,
You know.
so true.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think connection and communication, which is one and the same almost, is one of the most important parts of any brand. And I think it can also be the downfall
Oh,
of any
yeah.
brand.
Yeah.
Of
And
course.
so I think it's so powerful that is your core value and that is your core message, is that connection and communication. So I'm really excited for everyone to get to see what you do next. It's gonna be
it.
it's gonna be cool. That sounds
Thank you.
amazing.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm like watching it come together, and I'm like mind blown every time. I see the next step. I'm like, oh my god. I got to transcribe more stuff.
Yes.
I got to get people more tools. I got to make sure this thing is perfect.
And that's going to be something that's
Yeah.
living for you, because you'll always be able to
Always ongoing.
Yes, exactly.
I'm gonna expand it into hair cutting.
Love.
So that it'll do that.
Yep.
Right now that's not my main thing. My main focus is the communication. And like if anything, I'm really front loading and truly like all of it's super built out.
Yeah.
But the specificity I'm dealing with a number of major groups. One, self communication.
Yeah.
Make no mistake. Don't worry about who you're talking to. Worry about how you talk to yourself.
Mm.
That will determine what you're capable of.
It's true.
And what your possibilities are. So start with that. Second, interpersonal communication. Me with my client. Me with my teammate. Like if you two were having problems. You two. Do you know what I'm saying? Which I can't imagine. But there you go.
We'll hire you when it
know.
happens.
Yeah.
I got you, ladies. I got you. Right? So that, right? Then there's leadership communication. How leadership communicates down, or not down. How leadership communicates to their team. I don't like down because it's never down. It's around.
Yeah.
I believe it's always around. It's never down. Team communication. You have a big team. How's everybody communicating so that everything's getting done?
Yes.
And then presentation communication, which
Yep.
is facilitation and presentation. And those are the areas that I'm specifically building out. But from that place, it's like the facilitation one is going to be super robust. Then haircutting come in 2027 sometime. That'll
Yeah.
take a long time to develop actually.
There's a lot to that.
And I'm a big believer in doing it right, not just doing it to
Yes.
get it out. So
Yeah.
that's why it's like taking time. It's like I'd rather take the time.
I think that's
so that when
wise.
people really show up to it, there's a lot of value. You know, great. And you said something, if I may, go back to a statement you made or a question you asked. Is communication a skill everyone can learn? I may have not quoted you exactly, but you said something like that.
Yes.
I might say it's not really something to learn. It's something to remember that you already know how to do. That is different. It's very different. You know, if you watch children, it's very into little kids, like
Yeah.
3, you know, or 2, you know, like they're so open and honest with their communication. Like adults, they're like, "Oh, look at that. That's so sweet with kids." You know, once they learn how the world works, it's like, no, that's actually how the world works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Currently, you know, if you're not speaking with that level of honesty, with that level of forwardness, of all that stuff, that's a new way that you've learned. That's actually manipulation and is actually incorrect in a communication standpoint.
Yep.
Actually, you've been taught and programmed that this is what it is, the way adults communicate. It's like, no.
Yep.
It's about communicating with love. It's about being true to yourself. It's about communicating your needs. It's about letting things go. Oh my God, kids will fight on the playground for 2 seconds and another one walk off, and literally 10 minutes later they'll be playing again. You won't know what the hell
Yes.
happened. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's actually, remember that.
That's
Yeah.
so
You know,
true.
and apply it appropriately in your work, in your life, in all these various different things. You know, the challenges, the opportunities of an adult in communication are obviously different than a child's. You know, but in a sense, you know, setting up a game is no different than setting up a project.
That's so
You know?
true.
How are you going to do it? You know, it's fun. I watched kids play outside my window. You know, I live in Irvington now. It's like I got a little like yard,
Cute.
but it's like an apartment and it doesn't matter. And I see their dynamics as they get older.
Yeah.
Because, you know, now I've been here, so I see the kids get older. And I see how they start, the world starts teaching them a different thing.
It's true.
You know, people start jockeying for power, position. You know, I see one of the little girls has a crush on one of the boys. So now one of the other boys is struggling. And the other girl, you see, and these are all these things that we just forget.
Yeah.
You know, and then as we get older, I can see them transforming, you know, from year to year in front of my eyes.
Yes.
And how they're learning things that aren't true ways. They are ways that, for whatever reason, our society has determined that this is the way, you know, to do business.
It's true.
You know,
That's
worth
true.
noting. I think the bulk of the workplace, like some astonishing amount of all workplaces, nobody likes their job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
whatever the hell way we're communicating may be incorrect. I'm just throwing that into the mix
It's so
because
true.
people ain't having a fun time working. Most
So
of them.
true.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm
So true.
Hey, anybody that's listening to this, you know, and you know, hairstylist, ask your client. Take a poll for the next week. Ask every client in your chair if they like what they do. You'd be surprised at the numbers, and it
Yeah.
ain't gonna be everybody loves it. That's for sure.
I
You
think
know
it's
what I
like
mean?
98% of my people don't.
Yeah.
Like I hear all
No.
the time from my clients, and they might have an amazing career on paper, but they genuinely don't have what we can have.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean everyone has what we have, but you can have passion and you can make this career whatever you want it to be truly. And a lot of industries, you don't have that.
yeah.
Yep.
That you don't have that
Joy.
freedom and joy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Joy, meaning, purpose,
Yes.
freedom. I
Yes.
mean, there's so much in it, you know, that's available. You know, and I will stand by, you know, the entry fee for
Yeah.
everything that's available is the way you communicate.
100%.
You know, ultimately, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Yurish, is there anything else you want to say to our audience about what you're doing or any words of inspiration before we sign off of Hair Talk Coffee Club?
Well, definitely, you know, check out my IG page.
Yes.
It's put it right, Y Style NY.
Yep.
You know, and all those details, website, all that stuff. I'm sure
Yep.
it'll be in the
We'll
notes.
we'll have
right?
it all
so great.
there. Yep.
You know, so check out what I'm up to. By the time you know you're watching this, listening to it, a lot of what I've spoken will be up and running. You
Yes.
know, so that's super
Amazing.
exciting. Check out where I'm at. Check out what I'm up to. You
Yeah.
know, and know that whatever I'm up to and wherever I'm at, I'm leading from the heart.
Yes, you are.
And I'm leading with purpose. And my only goal is to not improve, is to transform lives and help people grow, to live as, their full potential.
Yeah.
Really focusing on communication being the
Yes.
string that runs through all of it.
Yes.
Now for a little bit of inspiration, and just a quick tip, I think so it'll be kind of both, is when you do communicate, just always remember you're communicating, from a place.
It's
I may
true.
have just gotten into a fight with my wife and then I go into work. Am I communicating from that place? It's important, right? And whatever place, whenever you're about to communicate, just always, you could be frustrated, you could be angry, you could be fearful, you could be any number of different things. Before you say anything, before you listen to anything, listen and speak from the place of love. It's the place where when you speak from it, you may not say the right words, but whatever you do say won't be taken the wrong way.
It's so true.
And it will always land. And that's when you connect, for me, and however this rings true for everyone, connect soul to soul, not role to role,
Yes.
if I may. Right?
Yes.
I want to connect with Carly, the human being, not necessarily, Carly, the hairstylist
Yeah.
or the podcast person.
Yeah.
Or Gray, the fabulous looking rock star person with amazing glasses. You know what I'm saying? I want to speak to your soul.
Yeah.
And I got to
Yeah.
tell you both, really thank you for having me on, because I see that that's where you're at. And this, to me, we just engaged in a soul to soul conversation. And when that happens, everybody leaves it, that much richer.
Yeah.
So thank you.
It's
Yeah.
so true. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And I'm so thankful that Mikey introduced us.
Yeah, really.
And that we got to know you. And this isn't a goodbye. This is I'll talk to you very soon, because
Very soon,
I want to
yeah.
hear about everything you're doing. And then hopefully we can get up to New York soon
Yeah.
and make time to see each other. So that'd be fun.
Definitely.
Cool.
Anytime you're in that city, you got to hit me up.
Hell yeah.
And I'll definitely keep you posted on everything. And let's just continue communicating, chatting.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
just wonderful hearing what you're up to. Now you're in my lives. Now I
Yes.
want to know what's happening.
Yeah.
Amen.
And that's
You-
what it's about.
Yurish, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Everyone
thank
check
you.
out Yurish Style. We'll have all of your info up on our description once we start posting. But thank you again for your time today. I appreciate you.
Thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate you both. Thank you.
Thank you, Yurish.